Hi everyone. Hi Sneha.
Hi.
Sneha is a mental health expert who is here to talk about mental health, all things mental health. So, hi Sneha.
Hi, Harikamani. Hello, everyone. I'm Sneha Khelani. I'm a Chief Counselor of Retrospect Counseling and I'm a certified counselor.
Great. So, here I am going to talk a bit about my life and she is going
Mm-hmm.
to give me insights on it
Yeah.
as to how a therapy session works.
Yeah.
So, let's get started.
Sure.
I have a couple of questions for you
Mm-hmm.
about many things that run in my mind.
Uh-huh.
My first question is, before I get into my life,
Yeah. Yeah.
what is the most important relationship for any human being?
Right. So it's a beautiful question. And in life, we are so engaged in trying to find ourselves and, getting confused. What is it? But it's a simple mantra, right? Self love. It can't be as simple as that. Self love. It starts all from there.
Right. And I actually wrote the same answer in my book.
Yeah.
Self love, I think it's very important because the moment you give that card into somebody else saying, love
Yes.
me, they
Yes.
might get, you don't know how to love yourself, you don't know how the other person can love you.
Correct.
So there might be a lot of unawareness as to how I want to be loved. So
Correct.
I think it's really important for everybody to do that self introspection
Yes.
as to be
Yes.
okay with yourself and let the other person
Mm-hmm.
love you even more, and you
Yes.
fulfill yourself.
Yes. Like it starts from you first.
Right, right.
Correct.
And the other thing is, I think all of us need to hear this is self validation or
Mm.
validation from others.
Others, yeah.
All of us here, sitting here, are doing things so that somebody else can praise us, all
Right.
of that stuff. So, how important is self validation or validation from others?
Uh, it is important, but we don't want to, use the validation power so commonly that you lose the essence of what you want to do in life as well. Validation is important, however, not in every step. Validation is just there to help you to understand that what decision you're going to make is helpful, right, or wrong. It's like that. But once you start to have get into habit of wants to know the validation from everything for every small thing, you will lose the value of yourself, and that is kind of associated to self love. When you're not aware, when you don't know how to love yourself, when you're not aware of the things that you want to do, that can lead to a lot of conflicts inside your own mind, wherein you want to find answers for yourself from
Others.
external factors.
Right. On that note, I have very limited friends from
Mm-hmm.
whom I seek validation from.
Mm-hmm.
There are like three or four, and I tell them after I do stuff. Like, I don't, whenever I'm doing
Ah.
something,
Mm-hmm.
I let myself think about it for days or for weeks. I think
Mm-hmm.
about what I want to do, and then
Mm-hmm.
once I decide, once I know what I want, that's when I go to my people and then I say, listen, this is what I want to do. What do you think
Right,
about it?
right,
Then they'll give their
right.
peace of mind. After I do my homework, that's when I go to people. I tell my dad, this is what I want to do. After I do
Right,
my research, and then
right.
he'll be like, do what you want,
Hmm.
what brings you happiness,
Happiness.
and then
That's
all
very
that.
nice of him. And I guess saying such words like, whatever makes you happy, that takes a lot of loads out of your chest. Like if you develop that confidence, like whether I fail, or I do it right or whatever, I think what it matters is I give it a try,
Right.
you know and that's the power of trust. That's the power of it's letting that kids experience what they want to without having external pressure of society or whether you can do it and other stuff.
Yeah. And a small example on the self validation part or validation from others.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was in my ninth grade.
Uh-huh.
My dad never ever came to parent teacher meetings ever, only for annual exams because he has to come and take my report card.
Correct.
So we went and
Mm-hmm.
we were sitting, and then my teacher, my sir was like, Hari, why did you only get 90 marks in math?
Hmm.
My
That's a
dad,
lot.
my dad looked at me and he was like, "Okay, Hari, you took your report card. Let's go." And then the
Wow.
sir was like, "Bro, like I was trying to
Yes.
talk to her."
Yes.
I was like, "Get up, let's go." My dad
Yeah.
thought that was a good enough mark, and he didn't
Absolutely.
want somebody to tell me that wasn't enough.
Enough. You have
So
more potential. You have more potential.
yeah,
Like, pushing.
yeah. So
Yes.
we just got, I was like, okay, fine. I got up and then I went with my dad and my sir from that day. He was like, okay, Hari, your dad won't say anything, so learn how
Right.
much ever. And I was an okay student. Like I said,
Mm.
I was an 85 to 90%, and I wasn't a topper, but I wasn't
Below average
below
or
average
average.
as well.
Yes.
And this was
Yes.
under zero supervision from my parents, both me and my
Wow.
brother.
Hmm.
So that our childhood like was
Mm-hmm.
pretty extensively like full of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have to get a little bit insight.
Right.
So
Right.
when we were kids,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we my dad used to make pretty good amount of money, and then
Right. Right.
we always had a car. We used to
Mm-hmm.
go, and then
Mm-hmm.
like in when I was in my sixth and seventh grade, we
Mm-hmm.
used to ask people, which car do you have? Is it a hatchback or a
Right.
sedan? Like if they say
Wow.
hatchback, we are like, okay, bye, you can't be our friend. So we were like, my
Mm.
dad does this, and I literally one of my friends,
Mm-hmm.
he saw my dad's phone,
Uh-huh.
and then he came up to me and he's like, listen, I saw your dad's phone. It's pretty cool. Will you be my friend?
Right.
Then I was like, which phone does your dad have? Tell that to me. Then I
Wow.
can think about being your
Right.
friend. So
Right.
my mindset, me and my brother both were like that while growing up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And after a few years,
Mm-hmm.
all of it was gone.
Oh
Like
no.
we had no car,
Mm-hmm.
and we had to sell my mom's gold.
Mm.
The She had a lot of gold. We had to sell all of that so we could fill our
Stand.
bills,
Right.
and our
Right.
life changed overnight.
Right.
And
Right.
I was around, I think I was finishing my inter second year or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the time to cope with that
I can
life.
imagine. Yeah.
Like overnight, you know how things are with money. So
Absolutely.
things changed overnight.
Right.
I didn't have the time to cope up with
Correct.
things. I was
Correct.
getting into a public transport for the first time in my life, and my dad used to come with me in the bus, stand
Correct.
behind me, drop
Right.
me safely to my
Right.
college, and then he
Mm-hmm.
used to go back home because I don't know how to travel alone in a bus.
I can imagine. I mean, that must have been very terrifying experience. Like that 360-degree shift from where it was to where it
Correct.
led can have must have been like very, very
Yeah,
uncomfortable,
uncomfortable.
frustrating,
Yeah,
and confusing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the time where you have friends, and then you have to
Yes.
go out, you have to do all
Yes.
of that.
Right.
I literally didn't want to ask my dad for anything that
Anything.
my friends had,
Mm-hmm.
because I always believed, and this is my motto in life, that
Mm-hmm.
I am made, I am not made for this world, but the world is made for me.
Wow.
I don't know how I came up with this, but I was never a person who buys something so somebody could think I'm cool. But since
Correct.
when I was a kid.
You live for yourself, not to
Yeah,
impress others.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is like I am defeating myself.
Mm.
I don't know if this is too much pride or
Mm.
what, but I am just like, I am not going to do anything for you to get impressed. I will do
Right.
what I want to do. You get impressed, good for you. If you're not,
Yeah.
good for me.
Yes.
So I don't know if this is too much self pride or ego, or
No, I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
it is the experience have taught you like how to kind of how life can change,
Right,
and this was an important message for yourself to kind of bounce back.
right.
I
Yeah,
and I think it takes a lot of courage also to do it. It
yeah,
must have not been very easy for you.
yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, I'm proud of you though.
Thanks. And so during this phase, my
Mhm.
dad was like, okay, fine, we lost the car, but we can buy a nano or an
Mhm.
alto,
Mhm.
which will come easily for less.
Correct.
So everybody in our house were like, we are not stepping into nano. At least all were like,
Hmm.
no way. Like, how can we sit in
We
an alto or a nano?
I know.
That was our entire. It was not just me. That was how our entire life has been. We
Correct.
were not wired to get into a alto or a nano.
Correct. Anything that, is out of your comfort zone, how
Yeah,
your life has been.
and that was not right. Like it
Right.
ultimately led my dad not to do what he wanted to do because we stopped him to.
Ah,
because we were like,
right,
listen,
right,
you can't buy a nano. No matter
right,
what, we are not getting into it. We don't support
right,
that decision of yours.
right.
It was like, how do I go out and do my business? We
Hmm.
said, we'll buy another car. We'll
But
buy a
not
big one.
this.
But we are not buying a small car.
Hmm.
And then that mistake led us to not having a car at all for like so many years.
Right. That must have
Until,
been a lot of pressure for your dad as well to kind
yeah,
of fulfill the kids'
yeah,
expectation and yeah, must have been really hard for all of you.
all of us. And my dad, especially, because that's when he had a shift in his mindset saying, okay, fine, you guys are on your own.
Hmm.
I heard this from my dad
Hmm. Hmm.
during my inter second year saying,
Mm-hmm.
Hari, you're on your own.
Hmm.
And I was on my own since then.
Wow. How old were you then when this happened?
How old was I when I was in inter? I think 17, 16, 17,
Hmm.
around that age.
Right. Although
So
you've told me, like, you've learned. So, out of this entire experience, what do you think that one thing that you have actually learned from the life and you want to convey the message to your generation?
my generation,
Yes.
like I said, stop living for others. There
Mm.
are people out there who will love you for just the way you
There you
are.
are.
Listen,
Wow.
it's I want to buy stuff, I want to go places, I want to
Yeah.
do a lot of things,
Yeah.
but I want to do that because for myself, because I
Mm.
love doing it,
Mm.
not because somebody could see it and say, listen, she
Yeah.
went there, she did that, she's cool.
Mm.
No, stop doing that. I think most of us here do stuff just so others can, think that, she's got it all.
And to be accepted by others. And that's
Others.
the only way to kind of,
Yeah.
do things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right about it, Harikamani. Like, if you are a person who could bring the spark for yourself, and that can be spread across, and that's just enough to be loved, to be accepted.
Right.
So don't lose the spark.
Right. Now coming to relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. According to me, if somebody asks me,
Yeah.
what do you think makes two people stick together no matter what?
Uh-huh.
I will say it is if both of them have same level of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about how much you love each other, who loves each other
Right,
more.
right.
That
Those
is
are
all
easier
secondary.
part.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you both on same level when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to forgiving each other?
Mm-hmm.
If either one of them is higher or lower,
Yes.
I think they'll have a rocky path. That's
Yes.
my take, but I want to know from your perspective.
All right. So this is one of my favorite topics, you all, like, it is very important that if two people are in a relationship, the first step is to kind of understand the differences you both have and actually respect that. A lot of time people end up making mistakes saying that I'm going to change you once you come into my life, or once I get married to you I'm going to change everything, because you have to adapt everything according to my culture or my values. So everyone has unique values and different belief system, and there's no two people can be the same. So it's important that you actually start respecting the differences, because if I've been clumsy all my life, it's no way that I'm going to be like tidy overnight, and that's never going to happen, and that can lead to disappointment, and that can lead to unrealistic expectations, and that can build up a lot of pressure on the other partner as well.
Yeah.
So if you accept the fact that my partner is clumsy, it's going to become a lot easier.
Yeah.
It starts from there.
Yeah. And love the flaws.
Love the flaws, yes.
Because ultimately you have each other by your side, and
Correct.
if you are always pointing out saying you're like this, you're like that, and not actually helping that person overcome their flaws,
Correct.
and
Correct.
I think constant complaining also like gets to the
Very frustrating
it's
level,
very frustrating.
yes. You become intolerable for each other.
Yeah.
And you don't want to reach to that point.
Yeah.
Of course, we are humans and we reach threshold. I'm not saying that everyone is perfect. This is the only mantra. Like, if you become patient and accept the differences, that's all gonna fix it all. But when you reach a threshold, you really need to understand that the person might be going through a bad day, or just give some cool off time until they bounce back.
Yeah.
So giving a time off is also very important.
Right. I need to learn that because I am somebody who's like, I need your attention. all the time. I am
Right.
needy. I
Right.
am. So because I'll tell you why I think it comes from is, like I said, I was on my own for most of my teenage times.
Right.
I
Right.
had to be strong. I was forced to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
I was forced to be okay with not having many things my age people had.
Right.
And
Right.
I never complained to my dad nor anybody. I said, I am
Right.
happy. Okay? I don't want you to worry.
Right.
Okay. The only person in my life since then, I thought I am going to nag, ask me to buy stuff, take me places, do stuff for me will be my boyfriend or my
Right.
husband.
Right.
Nobody else.
Nobody else. Yes.
And until maybe that part of me is fulfilled, I would still be this person.
Independent person who is not asking anything for everything. Yeah. Right.
So I need a partner in my life that can understand that this lady has been strong all her life.
Right.
Okay. I know maybe this is extremely toxic of me to expect it, but I need attention, love.
Right.
I need him to buy me stuff that I want.
Right.
Maybe it can be the simplest of things, to take me wherever I ask him to take me, like
Right.
any place, because I couldn't get that fulfilled in my childhood.
Correct.
I don't know
And
if
you chose
this
not
doesn't
to.
validate.
Yeah.
I chose. I mean, if I am in a proper relationship, I might still end up doing it. I know it is toxic, but some part of me needs that fulfillment to be myself with that person.
Correct. That's your necessity.
Yeah.
And a requirement to be in a relationship. That doesn't mean that you're a bad person or a clingy person or someone who is unrealistic, right? So, I mean, I'm not sure if you've heard of the love languages. Clearly, Hari Kamini is saying my love language is like quality time. And if I want to be in a relationship, I want my boyfriend to give me quality time, and that's not too much to ask.
Yeah.
And it can be misinterpreted as, she's clingy or like very demanding. That's her love language. If you are able to give that to her, you will receive 10 times more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So, we all have our love languages. So it's important that you know what your love language is and just give it. It's not like, we want to generalize it that you want that all the time.
Yeah.
It's just like a momentary, and that's all it needed. For example, in a day, maybe 30 minutes, but 30 minutes has to be dedicated to her. That's what quality time means.
Yeah. Right. I need that, of course. And I think everybody, like irrespective of the gender,
Yes.
people need to spend time with their partners.
Correct.
It's extremely important.
Correct. To be heard,
Yeah.
to be kind of shared, like that, if you're watching a movie together or, talking about your day together without having the phones around and, just making it sound like, no, but you really need to be there together.
Yeah. And talk.
Yes.
And also I think it's important that if we mess up in our day, something we do very stupid where people just like laugh at us, we should be able to come and share that with our partner without feeling like, should I tell him? Will he like love me less if I tell that? Is it okay? I think that level of intimacy is required for any relationship.
Right.
I think that emotional intimacy where you can say, listen, you know what, I messed up, and both of us can laugh about it. I think that kind of silliness is also required.
Right. We humans are made of a bit different feelings and complex emotions. We always end up focusing on the one which we process with a heavy duty, like anxiety, sadness, feeling bad, nervousness, and stuff. There's, we have a heart which has a lot of other room to give, like goofiness, sense of humor. We all have that all. It's just that we tend to forget. And it will be nice if our partner kind of remind us what we still got it.
Yeah.
To make the moment lighter.
Right.
So that's a very important point. We don't want to lose ourselves in the misery of so much of pressure. So much of, competition that's going around us.
Yeah.
So it's a good reminder.
Yeah, that's a good reminder, because we come back home to them, and if they are also laughing like rest of the world, then there's no use.
Correct. And a simple hug or a simple like ordering a comforting food can just make it up to what they're going through.
Right. I think that's important.
But the important point again is, I think what you wanted to say is like, Yes, but how do I get that partner where I feel like I can confide into, like,
Yeah.
and how do I get to that kind of a relationship where I don't feel reluctant to share how I feel about my day to day,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
And I hear you, like, this is where you wanted to get into, but I gave an ideal situation, but not many times we can get an ideal situation,
Yeah, that's true.
right? So what I do is personally, my husband, I've been married for 8 years now. I have found my ways to feel heard and feel acknowledged, and what works for me, I know. And not necessarily my husband will know the same way that I am expecting him to, make me feel that way.
Right.
So I give him a heads up, like, listen, Ricky, when I'm going through a tough day, this is what I want you to do. I don't need solutions, because
Yeah.
human tendency is like, when you want to say something, here's the solution, here's the solution. I get more irritated. I get more frustrated. I'm like, I keep telling them, you're not listening. You're not listening. Like, I'm listening. I'm telling you the solution.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we go back and forth, and that frustration kind of builds up.
Hmm.
So what works for me is, like I said, I communicate with my husband and say, when I'm going through a bad day, these are the things that work for me.
Hmm.
And don't use your brain, just do what I want you to do it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I've heard this from a lot of married
Yeah.
women. So
Yeah.
in my office, I have a few
Right.
friends. They're
Right.
like, whenever I go to my husband and tell him, listen, I'm having a bad day,
Yes.
he immediately comes up with a solution.
Solution.
And I am telling him, I just want you to hear me.
Yes.
I don't want you to give me
Yes.
solution at this point in
Right.
time. Maybe
Right.
you could give it to me later. But right now,
I need to feel heard.
yeah, just hear me out and say,
Yes.
okay, I get
Yes.
you. I think that is
Right.
a very good point.
Correct. So, to all the married couple, I feel like its key is good listening skills. That's all you gotta do, you know.
Yeah.
And for the ladies, or I mean, it works for both the genders. If you feel like the other person is more solution oriented, just tell them, like, when I'm having a bad day, or I'm confused about something, let's brainstorm.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever works. I think it's
Communication is the
important.
key.
Yeah, just tell them what you want and tell them
Yes.
what you don't want also.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming to heartbreaks,
Ah,
why do you think people cheat? What could
mhm.
be a reason? Personally, I
Uh-huh.
think cheating is the most lowest a person can get to.
Yeah.
I can never infer, I can never understand why people say they have gone through a lot, so they cheated. No, it's
Right.
always
That's
a
not
choice.
justified.
It's
Right.
always a choice because when you are committed to someone,
Mm-hmm.
have the guts to go tell that person that you no longer feel it and
Right.
leave and do
Right.
whatever you want to do.
Absolutely.
But I
Yeah.
have seen people who are in marriages who are not happy with their husband or wives,
Mhm.
are roaming around with others,
Mhm.
and they're like, chuck it. I am. They're not even sorry about it. They have
Right.
kids too,
Right. Right.
and I just can't get myself to sympathize with them. I just hear them out, and it emotionally wrecks me up to hear such stories. Thinking, I'm going to get married one day. Is marriage gonna be like this?
that? Right.
So I want to
Right.
understand: is there really a psychology behind somebody cheating, or is it just a choice?
Um, it's a very sensitive topic to begin with, like why people would cheat. There are various reasons, and I feel everything has been attached to psychology. It's and sometimes it's also a choice, but again, that can be associated to the mentality of that person. And then it goes back to psychology again. So, why do people cheat? Like I said, there are various reasons to it, but it can begin with the relationship. People, most of the time, fail to understand the need of each other. Like, physical need is also a thing where people can have different kind of physical needs as well. Had it been said that what do you need, sometimes they get deprived with emotional attachment as well, because one of the partner is so much occupied with family matters, the other partner feels left out. That doesn't mean that it's okay to cheat, but like I said, this is how it begins. Some people might have performance anxiety when with the wife directly. And instead of working and to figure out what is going on, they feel that maybe I need to see if I, cheat, maybe I would perform better. But that is again not a reason why you would cheat.
Mm.
People are not okay to understand there is something going on within me. So it becomes an easier option for people to go out of the marriage and figure it out what's the problem.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
instead of working together, they
Yeah.
say like maybe this is how it's easier for me to figure out.
Right.
But they don't understand landing from one problem, they jump into another one. And that mess up the entire mindset of the person and it becomes very ugly, it becomes very complicated. So you don't want to go behind problems after the problems. I want you to take a step back if you feel like, you have issues. It's okay to have issues. And there's always a problem. In my, I'm a firm believer in every critical problem have a simple solution. And that really works.
Yeah.
So don't be hard on yourself and try to go for the simplest answer outside of marriage.
Right. That's great. I think one of my colleague, she was like, we have a lot of work, so she just took 40 minutes off.
Mm-hmm.
She cooked for her husband. She's back, and then he's like, I don't like what you made. He's like that. So when she tells me about the things that she has gone through in her marriage, somewhere I feel okay, he's not giving her enough. Is it okay if she like goes around and gets the love that her husband is not giving her because he's always complaining?
Correct.
So
Correct.
had she told him that things are not fine, I want you to do this, I want you to hear me, and if still that person does not hear, what should a girl or a man do? Even when they tell them, listen, this is what is bothering me, I am not able to give you the love because you are acting a certain way.
Right. Like I said, there are times when people act in a certain way where they don't want to come out of their comfort zone and keep complaining about it. No matter how much you do it, sometimes it's just not enough. You really need to understand there are a lot of red flags also in a relationship. Just because we say like communication can be a fix, it's a key, and being patient, understanding the differences cannot be the 100% mantra of a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
You also need to understand that if they, despite of working and putting a lot of efforts, there's no change, it's a red flag. You have to start taking stand for yourself and say like enough is enough.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely okay to take a stand for yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes people realize the value of when you're not being around them, and taking that break is also important rather than putting a constant effort to fix and to be loved or to be accepted.
Right.
That is not okay.
Yeah. And constant explaining that, this is why I did this, this is why I did that. I think your partner should be able to understand why you did what you did.
Right.
Understand so I always believe that even if a person does something wrong, if their intentions are right,
Exactly.
I will forgive that person.
Right.
But even there are many people in this world we know who do a lot of good things with bad intentions.
Yeah.
And there are many good people who do wrong things because they're simply stupid and their intentions are so pure, but they are being, misjudged or.
Correct. That is because sometimes people lack interpersonal skills. Like for an example, if there are two people who are in relationship and their family matters are involved, the guy's strong values are like, I want to do the best for my family, but the girl is not very, she's very independent, let's say, and doesn't know the exact way of how a husband would love their parents.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that she's bad.
Yeah.
However, because of the strong values and ethics, he takes a step like, okay, I'm not going to let my wife talk to my in-laws. Intentions are good, but you see, that person is not helping to connect with that two people, and that may a lot of misunderstanding. That's just an example of how, good intention can lead to breaking the family.
Right. That's a good
Yeah.
example. Okay. And coming to cheating and all this is done,
Yes.
how do you know when to stop trying for the person? How do you know I am done, like I can't
Mm,
take it anymore? How do you know a person can reach to that point in life?
right. So, like I was talking about the red flags. Now, how do you identify there are red flags? When you're in a relationship, the first thing that you want to know, like, I can be myself, you know, that's first thing. But when, as the time goes, you started to feel like, I have to be careful. I have to be conscious of things. Oh, he's not going to like this, so I have to stop it, irrespective of how much I love going out and spending time with my friends, although I'm not doing anything wrong, you know. And other red flags are like, despite of you have not done anything wrong, you will be over apologetic to that partner,
Hmm.
and you constantly feel like there's something wrong with me, then I have to try harder and harder. You feel like your self-esteem is, started to get affected. You cry a lot, then you smile a lot. You put a lot of effort, then progressing. You end up losing your self-esteem than being empowered. These are the things that you feel like, no, this is not the right relationship for me. So
When I was coming to you, I was thinking along these lines, and I thought
yes,
an ideal partner would be someone who would not let your self
yes,
respect down
right,
just so you could do what he wants.
yes,
He would love you enough to allow you to respect yourself.
yes,
I think that is somewhere, that is the level of understanding two people should have.
correct,
And
correct,
I think it's important for partners or
yeah,
couples
yeah,
to be a role models for their children
yes,
than for their parents,
correct.
because our parents have lived their life.
That's a good
They
point.
might not always be right, we might not always have to fulfill our parents wishes, because
Yes,
they have made mistakes and what they say is not the all and end all.
correct.
And we are the generation that can bring out change to
Hmm.
our children, saying, listen, my parents made that mistake, I am not making it, and I'm not letting
Right.
you make the same mistake.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
I am more bothered about making my kids proud than my parents proud, hands down.
Wow, that's like a lot of wisdom and understanding to reach to this level and understand. Like, oh, I don't want to live my life based on the past
Yeah.
fixation
Yeah.
than the future one.
Right.
So that's amazing,
Yeah, I
Harikamini.
want my kids to rule the world.
Yay.
Yeah, I want to raise them like that. I want them to have their own perspective. I'm not gonna.
Yes.
I have
Yes.
another plan for parenting. I don't know if that will work out, but that's what
Right.
I want to
So
do.
I have a 2-year-old son, and I go along with the same lines of how I want my baby to be, have his own individual personality than me projecting myself like, hey, you know what, I'm a counselor, I want you to become like that. Because I couldn't, or and a lot of other things, I don't want to impose or project my experience on him. And he's just 2 years old. The way my parenting style is, I see that it's, I don't want to brag about myself, but I'm proud of myself because I don't want to go back and say like my parents did this and it has to be in a certain way.
Right.
So it's very important, and that point was very important. So on that note, I would like to ask you a question, Harikamani. um, if you want to give a message to the parents, what would be that one thing that would help the today's generation if they practice in a certain parenting way, if you know what I mean?
Okay. So to the parents,
To the parents, the message to parents, what change that they would like to bring that they can see the effect in their children.
okay. What I want to tell parents is, listen, you've had your experiences, great, you've had a hard life, but we are living in this current generation and you have lived your life. We are, so trust us enough that we will make right choices because we are actually in the game, and your game is different and our game is different.
Yes, yes.
So understand that your visions for me might be different than my visions for myself.
Yes.
And all parents should obviously show path to their kids,
Correct.
saying, listen, these are the options for you,
Right.
choose what you want.
Right.
And parents should trust their children enough
Enough.
that they have instilled good values in them, that
Yeah.
they will choose the right path.
Correct.
And please allow your children to make mistakes,
Correct. It's
because
very
that's how
important.
they grow. That's how they
Yes.
learn. Let them fall, let them get up.
Yes.
Don't try to monitor our life through every second and every minute. Just let us be, and we
Right.
will make you proud.
That's a very good message. And a lot of my clients come with the similar issue, complaining my parents don't understand me.
Hmm.
Why? Because they constantly project their experience and their perspective in the kid. In that way, they lose the communication chain, and that leads to misunderstanding. And unfortunately, most of the kids are labeled as misbehaving or, uncultured. That's not what the scene is. When I hear the perspective of the clients who are teenagers and others, I get to hear that I want to do it. They're very wise enough to make decisions, but because of the family pressure, I'm not saying the parents are wrong, but parents needs to come out of that fear that my kid will fail. It's all right because they're going to come to you if they fail. And that's when you have to start, giving that, showing the path.
On that note, in my family, I am known to be like, Hari is a little rude. Hari, even my friends, like, even when people first see me, they'll be like, will she come and talk to me? She looks very rude and mean. I am. I'm not saying I'm not. But you need
That
to
takes a lot of guts to say that I'm rude and mean.
I'm not to everybody
Not
just
to
like that.
everyone,
So
right.
I am, even in my family, when somebody comes and cracks a silly joke, I don't laugh at it. Because I just don't want to laugh at it just because of my family member. I don't enjoy it.
Correct.
So somebody comes and says, one of my grandmother tells my mom, call her, why does she have so much this thing? Ask her to come and touch my feet. She likes that part of me. And there are a few friends of mine who says, when I first saw you, I thought you were rude. But then when I got to know you, you're like sweet. I was like, okay. I'm good to people at the start. And then when I realize them, when I understand them, then I decide as to should I be their friend or not. And then I start acting mean or good based on my decision. So that's all.
Correct. No, this is another challenge of, trying to socialize.
Yeah.
You can't socialize with everyone and to everybody. You need to understand that we all have a different personalities, and we cannot vibe that personality with everyone. And it's okay to kind of not fit in.
Yeah.
People are introvert, people are extrovert, people are ambivert, right? And not just the people. I mean, if you have a huge expectation from people, that can lead to a lot of disappointment. You need to stop saying that, she needs to come and do this, she needs to laugh on a certain joke. No, we are not entitled to that. People have choices, and like I said, all you have to do is respect it. If you have two people sitting with you, when you're sharing a joke, it's enough. People laugh, don't laugh, it's fine. However, when you were saying that, that brings a lot of confusion when people say like, hey, initially you were like that, and now I see you have a different, a personality, and I like that. That's their opinion.
Yeah.
And we have to be very wise to choose the friend or a person that you want to, make a go-to person. In offices or at the work or whatever. You can't just be friends with everyone, and it's absolutely okay to process that, understand that, open your card slowly, and then go with the flow, because it takes a lot of efforts to make friends. It takes a lot of efforts to kind of understand the other person's mentality as well. Someone can be goofy and the other person can be introvert. That will not match. So you really need to understand that you want to be associated with person that who is alike me, and that's okay.
Good. So I think I found my tribe. Even when I go to office, like there are a few people who hate me, okay?
Right.
Because even I am mean to them. Whenever they try to, if somebody tries to bring me down, I am going to crush them. Be it in office or anywhere. And I believe more than anything, knowledge on what you do is extremely important. It is important than money, if you ask me.
Right.
Knowledge gives you power that nothing else can.
Right.
So whenever I do anything in life, whenever I step my foot into anything, I make sure I know the most about it, and nobody else around me knows the most about it. And that kind of brings me the power.
Right.
And it's also important to use that power wisely.
Absolutely, yes.
So that's my
That's
take.
amazing. That's amazing. To be informed is absolutely okay, but that can sometimes can be a punishment because you if you're too informed about
Yeah.
it and you end up meeting a person who is not
Not.
informative as you
Yeah.
are, then that could be like then. But how do you want to kind of accept that fact that the person is not understanding? Is you don't want to try harder to make your prove your point like
Yeah.
this is how it is.
Yeah.
You really need to understand that it's okay that that person is absolutely all right to not come to my level. That doesn't mean that he's wrong.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
okay.
True.
So you don't want to be hard on yourself trying to prove your point as well just because you're informed.
Yeah. I think
Is
that's
that making
important.
sense?
Yeah, it is. There were people who said they were intimidated by me because when you know something, you can talk to the point, and the person who is learning will be like, okay, why is she telling me like this?
Correct.
But that's why my way of teaching,
Correct.
which I changed later because I realized that wasn't right. Because even I was a learner once.
Right.
So
Right.
I think
People
that's
do
when
get excited when you learn something because you have that excitement to show and share that learning to others. But sometimes you will take it in a different meaning, like why she's so demanding or controlling or dominating or all that. So you need to choose the people who is welcoming that information. Right time. Right?
Yeah. And any other questions you have for me?
Now that we're talking, there's something that I really wanted to know. Out of the topic though, but I know a lot of people who are dating on dating apps.
Okay.
So what's your opinion on that? How helpful is that, or how? I mean, how does it help people?
For me personally, I am scared of dating apps. And I am, so since when I was a kid, I always had this vision that, I'm going to meet my man, he's going to change me, I'm going to marry him, we're going to have kids. I just had this thought. I used to like imagine scenarios, like I'm going to look at him, he's going to look at me, all that. I never had dating app on my mind.
Right.
And I've never wanted to voluntarily go and try search for a man. I wanted it to happen organically.
Right.
So dating apps for me is a no. I would never be on that. But I have my friends who are on dating apps, and they found amazing people. I tell you, they are so good. And when they meet them, and then they call me and tell, Hari, you know what happened? This happened. He was so nice. He was so warm. I didn't think he would be this good. I'm like, okay, good for you.
I see.
But there are also situations where terrible things are happening out there with respect to dating apps. So I think it's important, if anybody is on a dating app, if you're meeting someone, just let somebody know that you're meeting someone so you're safe.
Yes. Safety measures are important.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it's working out fine for most people.
To each to their own.
Yeah, to their own. But for me, I've never installed a dating app, nor will I, because I'm still waiting for that romantic moment to happen organically.
Correct.
For me.
Absolutely.
And it's okay if I have to wait for longer.
Right. No, I mean, that is very important. And I think I come from a place where things happen organically with my husband and I. And I absolutely loved it. And of course, I'm coming from a generation where dating apps were never existing. So it was really amazing. What really helped to have an amazing relationship between us was like we took a quality time to understand each other, not just about each other, also about our families, their cultures, their values. And we know we were not ready for understanding what kind of a good side they have, but we focused more on what are the challenges we might have when we are together. And trust me, that really worked. So you don't want to be mentally prepared for the good things that you're going to get into when you're married. People usually have that expectation of, oh my God, I'm going to have a honeymoon period. People are going to treat me in a certain way. I'm going to have fun and this and that. But trust me, you also want to focus on the things that you want to bring that change to be there as a new wed or a new couple.
Right.
It really helps.
Yeah, right. I think that's great.
Yeah.
And with this, I think we come to the end of our session. And to all of our viewers, if you need a counseling session, we have Sneha Khelani. You've seen how
Yes.
amazing she is.
Thank you. You're
You
so
all can
kind.
reach out to her. Thank you, Sneha, for your wonderful time.
Thank you, Harikami. It was indeed a pleasure talking to you, and I definitely enjoyed. So, thank you so much, viewers, and I look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, you can view our Instagram page, Retrospect Counseling, Bout Dat. Please don't be reluctant to reach any of these platforms, and we'll be more than happy to help you.
Yes. Thank you all.
Thank you.